Well, we come back to a little bit of a quieter house. We'll see. But you may notice that beer bottle, it looks a little bit better than it did when we left it in the last movie. I couldn't help myself. Went back, fixed just a few things. And all I did was select a path and make sure that my edit selected paths setting was engaged on the pencil tool options, and smoothed out a few things. I got in there with my direct selection tool, worked out a few little anchor point maneuvers and Bezier tweaks, and we're looking better. However, I still feel like this beer bottle is too short. There's something a little wrong with the proportions underneath at the bottom end of this thing. So I'm going to do a little move. I'm going to just do a select all. All my points and paths are selected. I'm going to move it up a bit. I'm going to get my direct selection. And I'm going to select the bottom anchor points. So these points from here on down are selected. These up here are not. And I'm now just going to grab and drag it downwards. And look at that. That looks like a much more drinkable bottle of beer. Oh, if only it were a cold one, because now this beer has been sitting for a little bit, little room temperature. Don't think I'm going to drink it. This is doing much better as a subject for this exercise. And it's a root beer, by the way. One of those awesome little Weinhardt's root beers, but I still call it beer because it's a beer. It's made of roots. The thing I want to talk about now is going in and working with different weights of pencil thickness, stroke thickness, and different opacities to just try to get in there and deal with some volume things for this exercise, but also it should maybe give you some ideas of what you could do for your project one. So if I get my pencil tool, and if I want to maybe go in and add sort of a darker sort of edge around the outside of the left part of the bottle to help define it and have it stand out, I'm going to go choose a small stroke of 2, and I won't lower my opacity yet. And I'm just going to go in, I'm just going to do some scratchy sort of crosshair sort of work along this edge, just to give it a little bit of something to help pop it off. Because when you look at your things around you, objects that exist in nature, there's usually something dark or light that helps define the shape and form and the existence of whatever object it is. I'm just going to go all crazy. Any direction. Once in a while, if your line goes burp, no big deal. All right. So there's the sort of background part. Is it perfect? No. Is it doing the job? For now, yes. But just that little touch right there ends up really helping that bottle already kind of come off of the background. It might be a little intense, so what I might want to do is I might want to select that path and say either I could go down to like a 1 point, and that would thin it out a little bit. That's kind of nice. Don't mind that at all. I also might go to my opacity now and take opacity down. See what happens if I take it to like 70. So I've thinned it out a little bit. I've also lightened it a little so it's not so in your face. It could even stand going down a little bit lower. I'll take it to 50-ish. yeah, I can work with this. So now what I've done is I've taken my stroke down to 1, I've taken my opacity to 51. You would assume that if I went and got my pencil again, and if I wanted to kind of go in and fill in a couple of these little spots maybe that are a little too white, and just kind of scratch those guys in there, you would assume that that line would also be at 51% opacity. However, the deal is, until you tell Illustrator otherwise, every time you draw a new stroke or a new path, it's going to go back to a basic appearance, which means 100%. And generally, thickness ends up not really mattering either. So I'm going to hit undo, just get rid of that line. So in order for you to actually tell Illustrator that every time you draw a line you want it to maintain the previous drawn line's appearance, you have to go to a panel called the Appearance panel. And my Appearance panel is up right now. It's on the right. If you don't have it, you can go to Window, Appearance, and it'll pull it to the foreground if it's already been obscured by another window, or if it's been closed, it'll open it up. And every time you have one of these little window panes or palettes, there is a little flyout menu on the very right hand side of it. So it's a couple of lines and a little triangle that points down. If you go to that little guy, you'll see that there are some things about appearance. We'll get into the whole appearance thing later. It's a really great panel. But there's this thing called New Art has basic appearance, and that is checked by default until you uncheck it. And I recommend you uncheck it. So now when I draw a new line, it ends up having the appearance that I had specified. So what I might do now is I might come in and grab a larger stroke, maybe like a 10 point, and maybe even a lower opacity, something like a 25. And I might just kind of come along and add a few little strokes along the outside. It's a nice heavy stroke just to kind of help define a bit more of that area that I'm trying to make darker. I might even say that the bottle could benefit from a couple of those types of strokes, even on the right side. Very faint, an opacity of 10. I'm going to make them a little bit larger, around 18. I'm just going to see what happens. I have no idea. I might not like it. Hey, that's not bad. I don't even know if you'll be able to see it after I compress these movies, but yeah, we're starting to define some volume now, but I still have this like funky line art. But if I just kept on working with these ideas of weight variation, opacity variation, but then also those great little helpers that are called tolerances in the pencil tool, our fidelity and our smoothness, we end up getting some nice characteristic of lines that that help really kind of work with you know, something like a still life or whatever. So if I were to say, yeah, there's a shadow over here, since it's an opacity deal, every time I pass over those other strokes, I get some neat little kind of layering things happening. Little darker, a little heavier. I could also go back down now to a thinner stroke. Go back down to a 2 or whatever, and take my opacity perhaps back up to 25. And now if I were to kind of come down and add some little scribbles here closer to the bottle, that might help define that shadow a little bit more. But everything I've been doing so far has been everything but the bottle. But you need to remember when looking at these still lifes that I'm assigning for you, that you really should look at the area around your subject, because it's that area behind it, next to it, and so on that really help define your subject. You cannot ignore the area around your still life. You can, and some people really pull it off successfully. Sure, I just negated everything I just said there, but with sort of jumping in traditional like life drawing, still life drawing concepts. It's really important for you to understand that sense of volume, the sense of light and dark based on surrounding, not just by the object itself. Um, so pencil, 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 pencil. Yeah, I think that covers it pretty well. Now, I want to just look at a few line art examples and just kind of help you kind of get a feel for what you know might work. Um, this was an exercise, by the way. I don't think I would ever put a bottle like this dead center. It's just something that's just too balanced, and that's something I want to change. I'll just grab my selection tool, do a select all, and I can just offset it ever so slightly. That might help. Or maybe I'd want to change its orientation so it was a vertical portrait style canvas or artboard instead of a landscape or horizontal one. All right, anyways, let's look at some line art examples. I think I'm good with the pencil at this point. Let's go to my Finder. We got materials. We have line art samples. I'm going to look at these. And we'll go full screen. Stop. This first one that we're looking at, really basic line drawing. It's because it was done by a 2-year-old. My daughter, 4 years ago, she just loves my graphic tablet and Photoshop. And this is before she discovered that she could paint with butterflies and stars and stuff like that. And so she just liked to paint. But I still was like, wow, 2-year-old doing some line art. Even a little dot. Just changed a little bit of color in there. I was like, wow, I'm very proud of you. That's pretty neat. Anyways, oh, look at this line art here. I only put this in just to kind of touch on some early vector stuff. Vectors were invented for radar, military use. And the guy who invented it quickly realized that there was another application that was kind of fun, and it was this whole idea of gaming. And the origins of gaming came from vector experiments for the military. So here's asteroids. Those are all vector line drawings. Pretty awesome. So here's a piece put together with some different opacities, some not really any different weight options to the strokes, but more opacity changes. Granted, it is in a sort of blue-gray color, but just imagine it in black. But it's nice, it sort of tells a story. We've got some interaction going on, and some depth. I like how this simple background allows us to just focus on the girl sitting on the couch in the foreground. Here's a similar piece done with some opacity changes. You can see that the opacity changes really kind of make this feel much more like it was drawn with a felt tip, where every time your line intersects over a previously drawn line, it gets a little darker. But this is a nice piece. I think the composition's great. The perspective is good. There's some good movement going on, and interesting energy with the subject. Those eyes, you pretty much just get stuck with those eyes there. But very simple, nice piece done with just line work. Oh, I was supposed to get rid of the copyright thing. Ooh, whoops. Anyways, I like this piece. Just super simple lines, and done in a way where composition's nice. I think the energy with the angle of the lines and the intensity of the poles, the strength of those things, and the nice sort of chaotic draping of the power lines is really kind of nice. You don't get stuck anywhere with this one, but simple black lines on a white background. Check this one out. It's pretty cool. We're kind of getting a little tribal. Really nice piece. Looks like it reminds me of one of those continuous line drawings. In fact, it may be. If that's an exercise you're unfamiliar with, Google it. It's a great exercise to work with illustrations. Um, and now we're getting into another piece that a student did for this exercise, all done with the pencil. Various weights only per the heavy outlines, and then the little bit of details that sort of sculpt and form the volume of the face and the ears. So there's three different weights going on. There's the heavy weight along the outer edge, the ultra fine weight that sort of grids up the face and whatnot, and then a nice medium weight for the detail of the headdress and the band and whatnot. And then we get crazy. Look at this line art here. It's intense. It's really beautiful. All of the stories that are in this thing, I mean, I don't even know. It could be talking about the year 2012 and how we're all going to, well, I don't want to jump to any conclusions. Nice piece. There's some nice symmetry going on with this one. A lot of movement in the circular piece. Your eyes just kind of keep spiraling around, discovering new little icons, new little stories and creatures, and great detail. A piece like this takes a long time, and that time that is invested into it really pays off. It's really quite lovely. You see a lot of line art with scientific illustration. These were not done in Illustrator, but they're a good example of what could be done for a project where you just can work with only a pencil and black line. Here's another one, pretty nice. Likewise, look at this mosquito. It's got great style. Super cool. And I like the way it fills the frame. We've got various weights going on. There's lines that almost make it feel like there's fills, but done quite elegantly with just the line. We have some anime business. Look at that line art. It's pretty darn sweet. That's some total energy in that piece. This one done with a pen on paper, but still a pretty good example of where you can go creatively with just working with line. This is a nice piece by this fellow Don Powell. Can you find the form in there, the human form? Human form in there. Uh-oh, we got crying going on again. Dang it. Here's another piece. Also another female figure in there. Really kind of cool abstraction. I like the idea of working with this sort of abstraction, but still getting into gestural suggestions. It's really nice. And we're back to Keegan's piece. Anyways, those are just a couple ideas for you to be thinking about while figuring out what your project one is. The exercise files in the exercise area really aren't asking for you to turn anything in. They're just there for you to open up and play with these things that we've been talking about so far. And you really do need to do that. You got to get in there. You got to experiment. Just like go over, basically just replicate anything that I was doing in these videos. It's going to help you definitely become more comfortable at a good pace with this program. But then there's the still life assignment. There's the written description for that. Make sure to check that out. Look at the due date. You submit your work right there through that assignment. And then there's your project one and a description for that. And these are the things that I want you to be working on this first week. I'm not asking a whole lot, but we got some things to do just to kind of get going. You may need to get Illustrator, find it. You may need to order your graphics tablet if that's hopefully something you're going to commit to. But then just spending some time working on some sketches, and then pulling together a piece. Oh, I should show you one more. I forgot this one. This was done by a student a couple years ago. This was the pencil. You know what? This is when I did both pencil and pen tool together. So there are some pen tool things in here. But I really like this piece. I liked the Well, the boat scene in the dock is just brilliant, and the use of different weighted lines through there just to kind of give you a bit of the inconsistency of the deck wood. And but the boat looks really nice. It's really well contoured. The suggestion of a horizon is really great. It's almost as if we're looking at this through kind of a a fisheye lens or something like that. It's really kind of cool. The air has great movement. If there were anything in this piece that I don't like, it's the tree. You could probably just live just as well without the tree. Yeah, it calls for something over there, but maybe it's just a different weighted line. Maybe that's all it needs. So there's your first week for you, and we'll open up week 2 kind of towards the end of this week for those of you that are itching to kind of move forward. But I don't really want you guys to be racing ahead, so I'm just going to kind of hold you back to my own liking, so that we don't rush anything here. Good luck, and be sure to email me or find me whatever with any questions or issues.